Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
'Cause I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. Of travel I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Been to Tullamore, Seymour, Lismore, Mooloolaba, Nambour, Roochdore, Kilmore, Mooloolaba, Birdsville, Emmaville, Wallaville, Connemara, Connemara, Strathrown, Proserpine, Alladala, Darwin, Gingin, Lilliquin, Muckilla, Wallamilla, Bougainville, Cumberland, Ramakilla. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man.
It is 14 minutes to 11 o'clock on the Two Blokes Chatting radio show, and under the heading of Third Time Lucky, we were meant to speak to Karen 2 weeks ago, and we forgot. Last week, Karen was unavailable. This week, with any luck, fingers crossed, I am going to say good morning, Karen.
Good morning, Rob.
No, this time you got Neil, but Rob's the other one, but that's okay.
Hello again, Karen.
There's Rob. I'm Neil. So Neil, I'm the one that spoke to you yesterday. So draw the dots together. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about the stuff up over the last couple of weeks. It's always a bit of fun to do that. We want to talk to you about Stroud and specifically about an event that's happening at some stage in the future. But kicking us off, where's Stroud?
Okay, so Stroud's about 50 minutes northwest of Newcastle, New South Wales. It's a beautiful little country town that is full of poultry sheds, which include chickens, turkeys, or free-range eggs. Cattle was a very large timber industry there, which sadly is gone. Dairy industry is hanging on by the skin of their teeth. Just only a couple of dairies still operating in Stroud, but it's just a picturesque little country town. Very green because of the amount of chicken litter that's been put on the farms over the years, and it's just gorgeous. It's the gateway to the Barrington Tops. So if anyone has heard of the Barrington Tops, well, you go through Stroud to get there.
I have been to Stroud, as we talked about during the week, and was distraught to find that it's been a very long time because the mower shop, I remember, has been closed for 15 years, but be that as it may. It's a really lovely part of the world. I'm not just saying that because you're on the phone. A lot of people, I think, if they were going north from Sydney to Brisbane, would use the Pacific Highway and therefore go through Newcastle and then head up through towns like Kempsey, Taree, Forster. They spelt Forster and said Foster, up through Port Macquarie that way. But there's this area called the Buckets Way. You're part of that, is that right?
Yes, I actually live on the Buckets Way. And if you turn left off the Pacific Highway onto the Buckets Way, you can actually stay on the Buckets Way, which turns into Thunderbolts Way, which actually will take you right to Goondiwindi in Queensland. So you can travel that back road and go through all these regional towns and beautiful spots and still end up in Queensland.
Yes, if I was Graham Connors, I would describe that as the road less travelled by most people who are heading to Queensland. But it's a part of New South Wales, I suspect, that people just don't understand about because they know about the Dubbos and these sort of places, particularly the Southerners like us who go up to Queensland. By road, we tend to go either via the Newell Highway and miss that bit, or up the Pacific Highway through Sydney. But it's just this lovely, green, beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, and look, we run an amazing rodeo in September in Stroud. So all the cowboys know where Stroud is. It's one of the best run rodeos in I'd say Australia.
But you're not biased at all.
Nothing to do with that. I'm on the committee.
So to coin a phrase, it's not your first rodeo.
Yeah, correct. And with you playing that I've been everywhere tune before this segment, Lucky Star is actually a very, very, very good friend of mine, and Lucky has for the last few years blessed us in Stroud and has attended the brick showing and invariably sings that song in downtown Stroud at our showground.
Well, to join the dots, our friend Les better known as Lucky, was on this program 3 weeks ago chatting about his career.
No.
Yeah, well, I think it was him. He said it was him.
It was him, and then a week later, his very dear friend Little Patty joined us as well.
Oh, beautiful, because they've just brought out a new album. Yeah. Oh, wow.
It's almost as though all of you know Christine, who does the legwork to get these things on radio, doesn't it? Hey, tell us a bit about the Stroud brick and rolling pin throwing event. I've got a fair idea what goes on from the title, but tell us about the event and how long it's been going and what it's for and stuff.
Okay. So we have for 2 years been trying to run our 60th event. And thanks to COVID, we haven't made the 60th yet. And then the wet weather has stopped us from today running our 60th event. But hopefully that'll happen on the 20th of August. It started with all the Strouds in the world, which is England, America, Canada and Australia. All the Strouds had brickworks, and I'd say it was probably over a beer in some pub somewhere that they decided to have this brick throwing competition between all the 4 countries. Over the years, other countries have dropped off. They all dropped off, and Australia was the only last man standing. But it's such an iconic event for our little town that we weren't going to see it die. Fortunately, England came back into the competition a couple of years ago, and they actually have their brick throwing event on the 16th of July. So they were going to be after us, and now they're going to be before us because we're not doing it till August. Yeah, so and then the women about 3 years into that event, the women went, what about us? And that's when the rolling pin was introduced.
I would have thought a rolling pin's a bit easier to throw than a brick because it's got the handle on the end that you can, it's a bit like designed to throw, isn't it? As a thing from a brick, they're a bit heavier.
Look, it's the boys throw the brick like in a discus type fashion.
Okay.
With the rolling pin, it's probably more dangerous to those watching.
I'm just trying to develop a technique in my head of how I'd approach the rolling pin throwing.
Particularly if there are a few cans consumed beforehand, I would have thought.
Well, we do have a very well-run, responsible bar service.
Excellent. I'm looking for a place where they have an irresponsible serving of alcohol. That's where I'm heading. So, how far does someone chuck a brick?
Their record's about 154 feet.
Really?
Yeah, and America holds that record.
That's 30 metres.
50 metres.
Yeah, that's a long way. Yeah.
To the top if you want to rock and roll.
Yeah.
Wow.
What?
So we...
How do you do that?
we had a chap, Kurt Livin, that wanted a couple of years in Stroud in Australia, and he threw 129 feet.
That's 40 metres.
And he's a strong man.
Clearly.
Yeah.
It's 2 cricket pitches.
So
yeah.
His title is strong man, like he is also a strong man.
Gracious.
But he throws that, that big ball that they throw at Scottish festivals.
Yes.
Yeah. So Kurt throws that. He wasn't going to be able to join us today in Stroud, but we're hoping he might be back for our new date in August.
Now, I've just been looking at a map, and I always ask a question of what is the most famous, or who is the most famous person to come out of Stroud, but not far away from you, over a hill or two, I would imagine. There's a place where one of my childhood heroes was born and raised, a gentleman known as the Dungog Dasher, Dougie Walters. How far from Dungog is Stroud, and who is your most famous resident?
Okay, so Dougie Walters his little town of Dungog is about 40 minutes away from Stroud. We go over a mountain into Dungog. Yeah, it's a lovely little town, a little bit bigger than Stroud. Actually, it's a lot bigger than Stroud.
Yeah, but not as nice.
Not as nice.
Not as nice.
So who's your most famous former resident?
Oh,
Apart from yourself, of course.
a chap, yeah, of course. Probably a chap by the name of Heath Francis, who won many gold medals in the Paralympics running.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so Heath actually was born and lived on the farm that my husband and I bought 25 years ago. So that was Heath's place of residence, and Heath actually lost the bottom of his arm on our farm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The mincing machine. Yeah, so he's probably...
Well, one gold medal would be enough, but if he's got several, then he's definitely a hero.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, Karen, we could sit and chat all day, I think, about your town. But Rob and Ewan, who's also sitting here, have got to go into the next studio and run the next program. So they're going to get up and go. And I'm going to spend a couple of moments just thanking you for being part of this. Sorry it took us so long to get there. But hey, if people want to get to the Stroud brick throwing and rolling pin throwing event at this stage, TBC, the 20th of August, is there a Facebook page or something like that they can go to?
Yeah, www.brickthrowingnewsouthwales.com.au.
Oh, excellent. And I guess if they Google it, they'd find it as well.
They find it, and we've got a Facebook page too.
Yeah, excellent. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the Two Blokes Chatting radio show. I'm sorry that the other two had to get up and go next door, but great to have a chat eventually. And I'll send you the link to so you can listen at Lucky Star. How'd that be?
Oh, beautiful.
We'll do that as well. Thanks, Karen. Go back to work.
Neil, yes, I am.
See ya.
Bye.